This technique or posture is called crow pose. So let's take a look at how we make the distinction in our particular style between crane and crow. So in your other video tutorial, you might notice, teachers, that you will be looking at a crane pose and this a crow pose. So you might have originally seen these two or understood these two shapes as the same, but we're going to create the distinction. So Melane's going to go ahead and come into a squat. So what I'm going to do first for you is let you see crane so that you can see the contrast. So for crane, if Melaine will go ahead and come into a narrow squat, walk the feet together. And now you notice she starts crane in a narrow squat. Her hands are also going to be placed about shoulders width distance apart. So if you could turn Melaine this way, perfect. So guys, she's going to set herself up for a handstand architecture or structure with the hands being right beneath the shoulders. So when I look at her, come back here where you guys are, take a look, maybe I broaden her hands out about here, and this gives her the nice clean crane with the knees tucked in to the backs of the arms. She could either bend the arms, but I do want to make, this is the first distinction I want to make besides placement and architecture, is the direction that, as an example, the elbows will travel. So Melaine, can you turn again, profile? Yeah, thank you. So straighten the arms back into position, straight, good. So guys, check this out. So in crane, you're going to notice she draws the elbows back as if you're moving to chaturanga. Then the knees go onto the backs of the arms. She can bend the arms as much as she wants to create a nice shelf. And she elevates the feet. And she can stay here, or she can start pushing for a straight arm crane position. She doesn't have to do that right now. That's fine. Okay. Now, let's look at crow. First, I want to start facing back. Can you turn to face these guys again? So guys, let's start noticing the difference. Number one, wide squat. Number two, wide arms. Look at the distance of the arms, the hands specifically. Look how wide they are. They're no longer below the shoulders. They're now even flared outside of the knee, okay? Now, second distinction. Elbows do not transition back, but rather out wide, like the wings of a crow, if you will, okay? Out. So now, notice what that does to her spine. When she shifts forward, instead of the crane spinal position, which is very flexed throughout the thoracic spine, she's going to be in an extension here. She's going to rest the inner thighs on the backs of the arms. And now look with this neutral spinal position and extension, if anything, the legs flaring open like a frog position, the arms out wide like a wide push-up position, and her gazing forward almost like she's in chaturanga. This is how we interpret, for in our system or style, crow pose, okay? So crane is basically the prep position to go to a traditional handstand. Crow is the prep position to go into a traditional headstand or into a wide arm handstand where you would be doing maybe a handstand push-up. So it's a very unusual position because, and here's why, because most people never end up transitioning up to its full potential. Every shape or posture that starts down here has the potential to finish up there, if that makes sense. So any low arm balance can become a high arm balance. It's just about extending the body upward. So if you could imagine, in this case, face me, Melaine, and you're going to come into crow again. So you're going to shift into this position. So now go ahead and take your head to the floor and now begin to transition your legs up. And you can see, guys, right away she's transitioned into a beautiful tripod headstand. And that was the perfect alignment to create that next transition. So she brings it down, and she's going to just form the crow again. Look at this. Perfect example of transitioning perfectly from one to the other. Now, let's look at the more difficult variation of that. I'm going to assist her in this. She's going to do the same thing again. Yeah. And we're going to go to a full handstand. So she's going to come in, and she's going to start reaching up with the feet, and then she's going to, at this point, she's going to start pressing, okay? Now, she's in a wide arm position. So this is a great position for pressing. So see if you can take your nose towards the floor. Good, and then up again. Beautiful. Again, nose down, and then again up. Beautiful, and come on down. Excellent. So great position for inverted presses. Actually a much better position than the traditional handstand position, because when you start to transition in the traditional handstand variation, your body is going to have to tilt this way like a plonge for you to do the push-up, and then you're going to have to straighten back up again. When the arms are wide, you can keep the body straight and just sort of lower down and press up without making as big of an adjustment. So I always encourage my students, if you're interested in, handstand presses, push-ups, wide arm variation. Where does that begin? Crow pose, not crane pose. Crane would be a great prepping position if you're going to go from crane to handstand to like a floating chaturanga or planche style position. That's the perfect place to play. So two different starting points to get to sort of a similar outcome, which is I'm in a handstand and I want to be able to move around in it. Press, exit, So let's cover this once more just to make sure we're on the same page. So Malane's going to come back into position. Your setup is wide leg squat, wide arm base, hands go down. You could turn or rotate if that feels more comfortable on the wrist. You don't have to be middle finger forward. You could be index finger forward. From here, you do not begin drawing your head towards the floor as you shift forward, but rather you lift your chest lifted as you shift in and find balance. Feet rise, demi point on the feet, hugging the heels to the sits bones, long extended spine, strong opening frog hip position, and then she simply reaches for the floor with the toes, comes back in position. She's back into a wide leg squat. And that is our crow pose.